What's up, Wargamers? This is Captain Nathan Tidwell recording at the Krulak Center of the Marine Corps University. Today we'll be going over transport operations in Flashpoint Campaign's Professional Edition. While this video will provide a comprehensive overview of Flashpoint Campaign's transport operations, you can supplement these instructions with the digital manuals available under the Wargaming Cloud tab on our Wargaming Directorate webpage. We'll provide a link to our webpage in the video description. Now, onto the tutorial. We'll begin here on the Flashpoint Campaign's start page. Ensure you've selected Flashpoint Campaign's Professional Edition and then click Proceed. Once the main menu has loaded, select Start New Scenario. For this tutorial, we're going to use the Air and Surface Connector tutorial, a scenario custom built by the Wargaming Directorate. As you can see from the description, this scenario serves as an introduction to amphibious operations using air and surface connectors, and the link to the Wargaming Directorate page with all the Flashpoint campaign manuals is again provided. To launch this scenario, click Proceed. For this tutorial, we'll play as Player 1 and use a computer opponent. We'll play on the Veteran difficulty so that Fog of War is implemented. Once the scenario is loaded, we're ready to dive in to transport operations. The announcement that pops up upon loading provides you with a brief overview of the scenario. Click Proceed to make the announcement disappear. As a quick orientation on the user interface, we see on the right-hand side of the screen the clock widget, which provides the current game time and weather, the command widget with buttons to bring up various pieces of useful information, the Spotlight widget, which provides your task organization and is useful for quickly finding a unit on the map, and the Mini-Map, which shows your point of view relative to the entire map and provides a quick means of manipulating your point of view if you don't want to use mouse drags and the scroll wheel. Additionally, all these widgets can be moved around the screen and still function the same. The menu bar on the top of the screen offers additional information and options, but we're not going to go over those since this tutorial is focused on transportation operations and we can get by using just the widgets on this side. If we click the Ops button on our command widget, it'll bring up our mission briefing. There we see our mission is to secure and defend Objective Nightingale, an airport on the southern edge of the map. In this tutorial, we're going to have the main effort secure the objective via air assault, while two supporting efforts inserted via surface connectors hold the enemy at bay along these two main avenues of approach. We'll have Alpha Company serve as our main effort, and LAR and CAT be supporting efforts 1 and 2 respectively. To get started, we'll click on Alpha Company in the Spotlight wedge so that their location is highlighted on the map. We see that they're currently embarked on the LHD, so we'll right-click on the LHD and then select Plan Air Transport. This brings up our Transport Planner, which is our primary interface for transportation operations. At the top are the instructions on how to create a transport plan, and at the bottom we see the Transport tab is already selected and showing us all available air transport units. Reading the instructions here, we see that we need to add one or more transports to this serial before we can select our cargo. To do this, we right-click on the transport units we want. For this air assault, we're going to use some MB-22s, so we'll just go down and right-click a few Osprey sections. Now that we've got our transport selected, we need to assign cargo, so we'll go to the Cargo tab. We see Alpha Company right here at the top, so we'll again right-click to assign them to the aircrafts. You'll notice that as we add cargo to the transport, our other cargo options for that transport begin to decrease. This is because each transport unit has a limited weight and pack capacity. So in the case of these MB-22s, we cannot fit 2 full platoons in a single section, but our headquarters element and mortar team are small enough to squeeze in with that platoon. If we made a mistake and don't want our mortars on that section, we can right-click to remove them. Now that we've got our cargo sorted, it's time to plot our route. To do this, we'll move our transport planner out of the way so that we've got a better view of the map and then click Plot Route. We'll see we can plot up to 6 waypoints to define our route. To set a waypoint, all we need to do is click the desired location on the map and the numerically labeled waypoint will appear. If we don't like our waypoints, we can click Cancel to clear them. Otherwise, if we're happy with our waypoints, we click Commit. This will generate the waypoints for our route and allow us to select our pickup and/or drop-off point. In this case, there is no pickup, but we want to drop our units off at waypoint 2 on the runway. Once we select an appropriate drop-off point, we see that the route is automatically generated and indicated on the map. Our final optional step is to assign escorts to our transportation units. To do this, we'll click on the Escorts tab, which brings up all available escorts. For the air assault, we'll provide them a couple of mixed H1 sections. With our units, route, and escorts assigned, all we need to do now is click Issue Plan and then X out of the Transport Planner. If we click on another unit and then back on Alpha Company, we see the blue arrow indicating the plan was successfully issued. We can also confirm the plan was issued by bringing the Transport Planner back up and checking to see the air assault serial is green. So we've successfully planned the air insert, but what about actions on the ground? Sure, we could wait a turn or two until Alpha Company is inserted and then issue orders, but these transitions will produce friction since Flashpoint campaigns models command and control. In other words, once the game starts, a player won't get an instantaneous response if he issues new orders or changes existing orders. Rather, there will be a delay as those orders have to be passed, received, and then processed by the subordinate unit. Therefore, it behooves the player to build out as much of his plan as possible prior to the game starting to facilitate rapid transitions and build tempo. MCDB 1, Tag 3, Chapter 4. Check it out. To give follow-on orders, we can right-click on Alpha Company and select the unit dashboard. We see that when we open Alpha Company's unit dashboard, all other units involved in the same plan are also listed, allowing us to view and alter their orders as well. We'll start with Alpha Company's headquarters. If we look under the Orders tab, we will see the sequential list of orders issued to the selected unit. In this case, we see that the headquarters unit has orders to ride in the transport, debark at the drop-off location, and then screen at the same location. While the first two orders are appropriate, this default screen order at the drop-off location is not ideal. To alter the order, we're going to right-click and choose a new order for the unit to execute after they disembarked. We'll select Move Hasty, plot the route we want them to take. In this case, we'll just have them go directly to the southern Victory Point location. Click Commit, and then choose their orders to execute upon arriving. Again, the default is screen, but in this case, we're going to have them hold so that they increase their defensive posture. We see the updated orders are listed in yellow and only pending, so we have to click Apply to finalize the changes. And that's the basics of follow-on orders. We'll quickly alter the orders of the rest of Alpha Company, having 2 platoons secure the other 2 Victory Point locations and 1 positioned in the urban area north of the objective, and our mortars in a position to support all 3 platoons. Notice that our aircraft's orders are also accessible in Unit Dashboard. If we inspect our MV-22's orders, we see that they've also been given the default order to screen at the drop-off location. Rather than leave our Ospreys as sitting ducks, let's have them return to the ship after inserting Alpha Company. We can do this by changing their final order from screen to land on and selecting the LHD. We'll do this for all 3 MV-22 sections. With Alpha Company and the Ospreys taken care of, we'll now turn to our mixed H1 sections. While we don't know exactly where the enemy is at the moment, or where they will be by the time our air insert is complete, we can anticipate they'll be moving in vicinity of at least one of these 2 movement corridors. So, we're going to send our H1 sections up the western corridor to see if we can locate and potentially attrit some of the adversary force as they move south. We'll start with our Cobras and change the default final screen order to Hunt and send them north along this improved road. Then we'll have our Hueys take this central unimproved road. With that, we've completed our air assault plan for the main effort and we'll turn to our surface connectors and supporting efforts. We'll start with LAR. By clicking on LAR, we see that they've embarked on the LHD as well, so we'll right-click on the LHD and select Plan Naval Transport. Notice that the LHD is currently selected as our transport unit. Since we do not want to move the entire ship, we will right-click on the LHD to deselect it and then select our LCACs on the LHD instead. Rather than clicking Cargo, which would work fine, this time we're going to select Same Ship Cargo to showcase the additional feature in Transport Planner. Here we see the units on the deck and units in the hold, which is where it will find LAR. We'll load up some LAV-25s, an AT section, and a mortar section, and then plot our route. Now, because we're using a surface connector, our drop-off point must be a beach. We'll zoom in and look to see what portions of the coast have beaches and go from there. We've got several options, but we're going to look for a beach near a road network that will get LAR into position as fast as possible, like here. Hit commit and our waypoints are generated. Just as we did with air assault, we need to select a drop-off point, and once we've got that, the game will automatically generate the route. Now, a very important note on escorts for surface connectors. As of now, in February 2025, there's a bug in Flashpoint Campaign's Professional Edition that causes an error in the game if you try to assign an air escort to a surface connector. We brought this to the attention of On Target Simulations, the developer of Flashpoint Campaigns, so they are aware of this issue and working to fix it. In the meantime, you should not assign an air escort in order to avoid making the game crash. Instead, we'll task the air escort separately to cover this amphibious insert and then hunt up this eastern movement corridor. Now that we've got our insert planned, we'll turn to actions on the ground. To do this, we right-click on an LAR unit and select Unit Dashboard, and then alter their orders following the debark. Notice that Flashpoint Campaigns automatically generates a route for me using the roads and trails. I can also plot the route manually if I want to keep the given unit off roads. Rather than talk through each individual step, since we've already gone over ground movement, we'll talk about LAR ski maneuver generally. Upon insert, we have LAR moving hastily up until they start to come around this terrain feature, and then shifting to deliberate movement to get into their screening positions a little bit further north. This is not a tutorial on tactics, so I'm not endorsing or condemning this particular scheme of maneuver. Rather, I'm showcasing how detailed a player can be with his planning in Flashpoint Campaign's Professional Edition. Now that we're done with LAR, we'll shift to CAT. We see that our CAT platoon is split up between the LPD and LSD, so we'll have to make two separate plans to get them all ashore. Starting with the LPD, we see it has an LCAC, so we'll right-click and select Plan Naval Transport. Now, when our transport planner appears, our existing insert plan automatically populates. This is useful since the graphics help us keep track of where everything is going. To make sure we load the correct CAT section, we'll go to Same Ship Cargo and then select the CAT units and plot their route. CAT's going to be responsible for this western movement corridor, so we'll have them land on a nearby beach. With the route generated, we'll issue the plan and then go to our unit dashboard and start building out CAT's ground movement. While we do this, I want to draw your attention to another feature of Flashpoint Campaign's orders, which is time. If we look at each order, we see an estimated time that the order will be carried out. In the instance of this CAT unit, we see a rough estimate of when they begin the amphibious insert, when they begin debarking, when they begin their hasty movement, and when we can expect them to be in their screen. Remember, though, that these are only estimates and that the enemy gets a vote. If this CAT unit begins taking indirect fire during movement to their screen position, they will not execute the order at the prescribed time. Now that we've got this CAT section sorted, let's turn to the element on the LSD. This CAT section's insert will rely on an LCU rather than an LCAC. While the LCU can transport much more than an LCAC, it is significantly slower, so keep that in mind while planning. Once we've got our cargo selected and route plotted, we'll again plan ground actions by going into Unit Dashboard. We'll push the late arriving CAT to these far western roads along the coastline. And with that, we've completed our amphibious assault planning and are ready to start our first turn. We'll hit start to let the first 18 minutes of game time elapse. While game time runs much faster than real world time, I'm going to fast forward through the turn resolution in this video. Alright, our first turn is ended and we have the opportunity to change existing orders or issue new ones. We haven't gained any additional information about the enemy, and we've already issued detailed orders to our units, so as the commander, there's no need to take any action at this point. We'll simply start our next turn and let our scheme of maneuver play out. We can see our air assault has reached the objective and Alpha Company is offloaded. Meanwhile, the LCAC carrying CAT is nearing their insert point. Our H1 sections are making their way north along the major routes, and we see they've spotted an enemy APC on the western MSR. We see CAT is offloading now and beginning movement to their screening positions, We see LAR offloading and moving into position, so in terms of maneuver units, we're just waiting on our LCU-bound CAT section. And there you have it. With that, we've covered the basics of transport operations in Flashpoint Campaign's Professional Edition. I hope you found this video useful, and don't forget to check out the manuals if you need additional help. Thanks for watching, and as always, game on.